Hi, Tyria, and happy Friday. Welcome to Guild Chat, and thank you for spending some time with us today. I'm your host, Ruby, and today we're going to be talking about something that we as a studio and a lot of game studios have been dealing with for months now, which is making and shipping a video game from our homes during quarantine. So we're going to be talking with 6 of our devs today, just about various aspects of how that works, how we're dealing with it, what's different, what's good, bad, and indifferent. So let's get started right away with our first 3 guests, and I will have you guys introduce yourselves and talk about what you work on or what you do at ArenaNet. Alex, let's start with you, and then Kent, and then Connor.
Hi, I'm Alex KAIN. I'm a senior writer and narrative designer at ArenaNet. I was the lead writer on episode 4, which is launching in next week after the 28th. It's launching on the 28th, so that's coming up very soon. Yes, yeah, I'm working on fun Guild Warsy stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Kent?
Yeah, hi. I'm Kent. I'm a QA analyst on the episode 4 team, and yeah, it's coming out a week from now.
Okay, Connor?
Hello, my name is Connor. I'm a senior designer, and I am working on the new Mysterious expansion.
Which,
Yeah,
sorry
that's
guys, that's not what we're talking about today.
But, like,
yeah, let's just get ahead of that now.
Still exists.
He one-upped us.
Right? Like, man, he just like came at the end with a boom.
I mean, like you've got stuff that you can talk about, which is, I think, inherently more interesting. I don't know.
It's certainly easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we start with one of the most practical aspects, which is the equipment. We don't have, like, our homes don't come equipped with like the sweet internet connection that the office has and all of the equipment that we have to do our job. So how have you guys worked with that, and what's different? Connor.
Well, yeah, I mean, I borrowed a monitor from work, and I basically plug it into my laptop, so I have 2 screens still. That's really the only like minimal disruption for workflow. Other than that, though, like I'm doing most of my work over remote desktop, which means that like it's very dependent on having a stable internet connection for me. But I'm mainly it's very lucky that I had a nice laptop that I can bring from location to location in order to do my work. If the internet's bad in one spot, I can go somewhere else. So, yeah.
Nice. How about you, Kent?
I already had a computer set up at home, and it's actually fairly convenient that I built a new computer within, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 years. So I had that, and as far as the transitionary difficulties, they've all been relatively minor. So working over a remote desktop, there are things where I'll be using the clients on my actual computer, and then I'll make a GIF or something for a bug, but then I have to send it to myself to sometimes put onto my remote desktop, because I can only access Jira via remote desktop. So yeah.
That makes sense. Alex?
I didn't have to steal anything from the office to
you
do
guys
my
will
work.
Just give it to you if you ask.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's more fun to seek forgiveness than ask permission. What I've been fortunate with is that for the writing that we do most of our initial drafts in things like Microsoft Word and Final Draft, which I already have personal copies of, so I didn't need to worry about remoting in on my machine. So I've got a Surface laptop here that's plugged into an external monitor, which is the same monitor I use for gaming. It's a pretty wide monitor, and I can have all sorts of things up on the screen at the same time, like a command center or something, and it's pretty cool. Because this is my sort of gaming area that I do my work in, however, I had to leave my work keyboard at home, which is my favorite sort of typing keyboard. It's this Unicomp. It's modeled after the old IBM Model M's, like the beige keyboards that you had like
Oh man.
when you were at school or something.
Uh-huh.
And for keyboard nerds, like it doesn't have a standard switch. It uses like a little spring inside the key, and it's actually called a catastrophically buckling compression column switch and actuator mechanism. That's not like an MX Cherry or anything. But what it does is when I start like typing on it, people start like looking and they're like, "Are you like a time traveler from 1983? Did you come from a high school somewhere?" Yeah, so I missed that. I use the Surface Laptop keyboard, which is a fine keyboard. Don't get me wrong, but it's not quite the same. Yeah,
So just to give a little look behind the scenes on, I mean, we joke about stealing equipment. There is not much left at my desk at the office. I will say that one of the things that ArenaNet did that I really appreciated was if you need stuff from the office, if you need stuff from your desk, we will work with you on that, because I think all of us starting to really realize, hey, we're going to be doing this for a while, happened when Washington was like at its height of quarantine. Like the highway signs said, "Stay home, stay safe." So
Ruby, I
that
have a
was super
question for
helpful.
you.
Mhm. Yes.
So your call background is on point in regards to having like a nice
Oh,
display of
yeah.
things behind you.
Mhm.
So I'm curious how much of that was like what you had up beforehand, and how much was like were you like I'm going to be doing this all the time. I'm going to make sure I have the best damn Guild Wars related background possible.
So
Like,
let's see. I like ravaged my house. Um, I have like all of my game boxes and my framed Tyria map, those were gifts from my husband over the years for like birthdays and Christmases. He had my game boxes put in a shadow box for me one year. So like a lot of the stuff I already had, like we've all got the signed CE. Um, I keep like turning around to look, but I also had at my desk at work, I had a ton of fan art that I've collected over the years, and that's like all back there. I got all of my Extra Life stuff. My whole family, we were tearing through our house going, what else do we have? What else? What's in bookshelves? Like what's in cabinets? What's on my desk at work? And honestly, the Extra Life medals, the ones that I got, I was always putting up in our team's pod because it was a team effort and I wanted to share. I took them back. They're mine now. So yeah, and like my nameplate, I took it off my desk at work. So yeah, between my desk and all over my house, there's like 12 years of stuff back there. That was a very long
I have
answer
the
to your
same
question,
right
but that's where it
wall.
came
I
from.
haven't even been I haven't even been living in this apartment for the most part. So
Yeah,
I apologize.
you kind of no, that's okay. It's nice and clean. It's minimalistic as opposed to the massive
Sure.
clutter behind me. But yeah, my filing cabinet at work was literally wallpapered in fan art. There wasn't any space, so I just pulled it all down and brought it home. So there's your answer. Yeah. So that's kind of equipment on a slightly different level. What about interaction with your team? Because we're not really we're not having impromptu kitchen meetings, and we're not all fighting over 5-2 now. How's that changed for you? I'm not wrong. That's the good meeting
No,
room.
yeah, 5-2. For those who don't know, the number of sizable meeting rooms at ANET HQ is
It's a very
not.
small number.
We don't have too many of them. Yeah, it's a very small number. Yeah, I think that for the stuff that I do in particular, I really miss working with the physical team. The way that writers are set up is that we're sort of embedded in the episode team. So I sit, with the episode 4 writers, and it was easy for me to just sort of, just ambiently hear what's happening at any given point. I can spin around in my desk, and the whole team is right there around me, and I can ask them questions. I can see what they're working on. If they have a question for me, they can ask it. If I hear a conversation going on and somebody wants to add something that I know is going to be a problem, I can just sort of, enter into that conversation. But that doesn't quite happen as much now. So there's a lot more sort of you know, we have like an open Teams channel that we use. That's, you know, for the whole episode 4 team, and you know, we have check-ins a lot more often to make sure that everyone's on the same track. Everyone, you know, yeah, it's been a change. It's been a workflow change. But you know, the one-on-ones and stuff that you do don't quite capture the same kind of ambiance that the studio had.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, like, there definitely was an adjustment for figuring out, because what Alex is saying about, like, people just won't overhear things naturally, right? So anymore,
Yeah.
like, there's no hallway conversation or anything like that where like someone will catch wind of something if they you know, just naturally. And so it becomes extra important for you to find, like, you know, to actively put a lot of effort into keeping everyone in the loop. And you know, like having regular calls and like sending emails and posting it in Confluence, which is all were always good practices to have. Um, but I think it really, especially when with you know, teams being like adjusting and people trying different things. There's been a lot more of that, right? And a lot like just having impromptu chats, right? Where it's like, hey, let's talk about this in person, because one of the other big things is text may seem like an okay substitute, but it really isn't a lot of the time. So even though it's
Yeah.
not as good as being there in person, like it's almost always better to talk over a Teams chat, even if no one has video, right? Just because you can hear tone of voice, you can get a better sense of how people, especially when you're like collaborating on ideas, how people feel about things versus like trying to interpret their feelings from text. So yeah, that's my big thing, is it's just you have to do as much as you can to keep people in the loop and keep it personal. Both of those things require more active effort.
I will say the opposite side of that coin is that now that we all are digital, it's so much easier to set up a one-on-one with somebody. Whereas in the studio, it's like, okay, well, we'll set up a one-on-one. We'll try to get a meeting room, and there are like 8 meeting rooms and 100 meetings that everyone across the studio is trying to have at the same time. But now it's just like, you know, oh, I need to talk with Connor about something. I'll talk to Connor. Hey, do you have 5 minutes? Cool. Video chat. Done. You know, that aspect of it's a lot easier now.
That is something you've made me realize, is how often I would be having a conversation via text with somebody in a different part of the office, and we'd just be like, hey, do you want to grab a room? Because yeah, you're right, it's hard to get a meeting room, but there were a lot of small side rooms where a couple of us would just like duck in there and hammer something out really quickly. So it is super important communication, just keeping that up at this point. How about you, Kent?
Yeah, actually, for context, I actually am one of the people that sits directly behind Alex, so on our team. So, I miss you, man. No,
Oh.
but yeah, it's been, especially as someone who's I'm definitely the kind of person that prefers to kind of like talk to people in person and kind of like gauge their emotional responses and all that stuff that comes with interpersonal conversation. And it's just kind of like just being able to like overhear things and pick up on things that like I definitely feel like in addition to like the overarching kind of like I would say theme of quarantine, which is like alone together or something, you know, something like that. There's like there's like yeah, there's kind of like this almost like invisible barrier between like humor, like personal interaction when you're like separated. Everyone is in like their own, I guess, office, as you will, and it can be like difficult, especially for people with like kind of like apprehension about like just poking people for like conversations. There's like a degree of hesitancy, I think, there to like invade people's personal almost like their personal virtual space.
Yeah, that makes as far as not overhearing and not being physically in there, Alex, you reminded me, we were having a large Teams meeting for something earlier this week, and I was talking about a point, and when I finished, Dahi was like, "Okay, thank you for that. And by the way, I really miss hearing your voice." And I just had this moment of, "Oh, I miss hearing everybody's voice." So that human connection also has become a bigger thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I've had
Um,
days where I'd be like feeling kind of down, and then I'd have a video
mhm.
chat with someone, and I feel better because it's nice to see people.
It is. It makes a huge difference. I don't always turn my camera on in meetings. We were kind of joking about that before the show, just because half the time I look kind of ratty, and I don't necessarily want people to. I don't want to inflict that on people. So, but it's nice seeing and hearing people. It's nice seeing and hearing the people that you miss seeing in the office every day.
Even more so, their animals, their pets.
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, pets invading live stream meetings, pets invading Teams meetings and cameras is fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, I very much appreciate.
No,
Alex is like, "Where's
there's
my
a lot
cat?"
of. Oh, sorry.
I saw him lurking around before, so got to be careful.
There's a lot of
I've
little
closed my
things
office
that
door,
people.
so
There's a lot of little things that people do to like spice up their chat as well. Our producer Kai keeps changing his like digital background to
yes.
things like
Oh
the
yeah.
Bat Cave or like Jurassic Park. And then one time he changed his digital background to be inside the office. So
I
everyone was
was
like,
in that
"Are
meeting.
you inside the?" Yeah, he's like, "Are you in the office, Kai?" And like, and
Yeah,
and now I
I
think the
was in
latest
that
one is
meeting, and I
he's
was
in
like, "But
space.
why?"
He's been in Lion's Arch before. Like he's really been traveling during quarantine to a lot of fantastical locations.
Oh, yay, there she is.
Oh,
Yay. Aw, thank you.
Hey, he's just lurking.
He's like, "Whatever." Yeah,
Yeah.
so Teams meetings backgrounds are fantastic. My favorite one that I've seen so far was one of our guys had a background that was like a face hugger, and it said "free masks," and that remains the best one I've seen so far, even better than Kai's office background. So,
all
Excellent.
right, Kai, you got to
um,
step it up if you're watching this.
come on, Kai, get the face hugger mask background. No, the
Nothing
office
that'll give me
background did throw
nightmares.
me. I don't know how he got that.
Hmm.
Actually, but you know what? You've made me think of something. Drew, our audio director, was in the office for something a little while back, and he went to my desk and took a picture of it and texted it to me, and was like, "I can feel you here in spirit," which initially made me sad, but maybe I can make that my background somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still have that text. So speaking of backgrounds, what about fitting your workspace into your home life? Because we're all home offices now. How did you work that? Kent.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, I just, like, so when I guess it's different for everyone, and for especially, I think there's a difference between like if you're renting a place, or even just a room. Uh, and as you can see, my office is also my bedroom, so that's, uh, it can be a bit just weird, sort of, to like. I mean, it's the shortest commute I've ever made to work, but
Yes.
yeah, um, it's definitely a weird kind of like psychological, I think, space to be in, where you what is normally like where I work on like artwork or writing or just like recreational sort of stuff, is now also my workspace. So it's like there's like a weird dissonance, and for me, it's like it's very much I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing, but it's definitely because I think there are people who appreciate that sort of like work home disconnect, and yeah, the setup that I have doesn't necessarily accommodate for that, but managing.
Yeah. How about you, Alex?
Working from home, the shift has been a lot more challenging than I thought. Like I said, I'm set up where my game station is. It's this nook that's sort of set into the wall. So I'm kind of like staring at a wall all day. But it's a nice wall, so it all works out at the end of the day, I suppose. I'm used to doing my writing in a space that's separate from where I live. If I was, in the office, that was great. It was away from my apartment. I didn't have to worry about it. If it was like after work, if I was writing personal stuff, if I was, working on side projects or whatever on the weekend, I would go to a coffee shop and I would write there. There are no more coffee shops, and everything is done from home now. So there's this sort of conflux of all this stuff. So I have to be a lot more diligent about stepping away from the computer. During the week, this area is the work area, and during the weekend, it is the game area. And every other part of the apartment is very much you're not thinking about work when you're here. Don't even try it. And that's generally how I've managed to keep sane. Also, I'm getting a lot more use out of my patio, which is over there, which is a very small space, which is about big enough for a single chair. But I'm outside, which is the important thing.
Yes, very true. Connor, how about you?
Yeah, to follow up on something Alex touched on. So I very early on in pandemic decided to move. My family lives in Seattle, so I decided to go back with them so I wouldn't be quarantining alone.
That's a
And
good
for a
idea.
while they did their internet. Yeah, for a while their internet was not good enough, so I was actually commuting to my apartment, and my apartment became my office.
No, Connor, that's not how you're supposed to do it.
Well, I mean, it worked, and then it turned out.
As long as there
then
are
they got
200 people in there.
yeah. But then they got their internet fixed, and so I haven't had to do that until today for random reasons that we won't go into. Alex touched upon something that is interesting, which is he and I both have like side projects because ArenaNet is very good about like you've got indie games you want to work on the side, like you just talk to someone, they let you do it. But I find that one of the side effects of quarantine, and I feel like Alex lightly touched upon this, is that the mental divide between like day job and side project it's like you don't get as much of a refresh from switching over because you're working on the same computer, and like it's not as like I'm moving to a different space and doing a different thing. It feels more like you're doing a different flavor of the same thing, which was always kind of true, but you feel more of it. And that's been kind of a bummer. But it's I still can do a thing where like I'll take my laptop and move it somewhere else, right, and sit somewhere else. That helps. But that's probably been the biggest side effect of quarantine for me. Is that lack of a lack of separation that occurs between all those different things. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And touching on that lack of separation, so it's confession time. Connor, you commented like my background looks really sweet. Out of camera view, it is so very carefully curated. I got a little bit lucky in that we happened to have a spare bedroom because my oldest daughter had moved in with her fiance last year. So we had this bedroom that we had turned into a gym because we're nothing if not a cliche. And we had a computer room downstairs. So I pulled my entire rig up here, and now it's my office. And while this background looks fantastic, on the other side of these monitors, like just behind the camera, is like a whole home gym. And over here is like the hamper and luggage storage. So kind of like making it fit in this corner is very much okay. Now don't let people see your dirty laundry because that's weird. And nobody needs to see your elliptical. But once we got all of that set up, at the end of the workday, I leave this room and I do not come back in. Which means I'm PC gaming very little these days, just because, like Alex, my work rig is my game rig. I'm playing with my Switch a lot more, And my son just bought an Oculus Quest, and he's happy to share. So I'm like playing the hell out of Beat Saber and other things that don't require me to be in this office. But it's important to have that separation. I'm going to lose my mind because I'm so bad about taking breaks. So yeah, now you know the awful secret of what's outside the camera view.
Yeah.
It's
it's
the
universally
reason
true
for
for
life.
most people.
My
Yeah.
TV,
Yeah.
like, that's my TV. Like that, like when
Oh,
I'm
it's
done
nice.
and I'm watching TV, I'm always just kind of like looking over, and there's the workstation. And
Yeah.
part of me gets a little sad, but that's
I love my job, but I don't want to see it at the end of the day because otherwise I will work 80 hours a week and be miserable, and
Yeah.
it'll be terrible.
And to be fair, that was a problem very early on, right? Is that when you're
Yeah.
working from home,
Oh,
all
gosh.
of the usual cues that you have to determine when the day is over don't exist anymore. You know, like
Yeah.
for me, it was always, like, okay, well, get into the office and do this, that, and the other thing. And when these people start packing up to leave, that's usually when I start to pack up to leave. Now it's just, I wake up, eat breakfast, sit down, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, it's 6 o'clock in the evening. Now I probably should eat something, for dinner. That's it. It's tough. Like the first couple of weeks in particular, I would just, be here for a lot longer than the company would prefer that I was working on things.
Yeah.
And it was, that, so you have to start setting, boundaries, right? You have to say, okay, I am on for these hours, and then I'm done, and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not still periodically checking email. I'm not still available on Teams. Like, no, I'm done, and now I need to leave, and then I come back tomorrow. It's tough. It's tough to set those boundaries when you're always on.
Yeah. I got super protective of that work-life integration a couple of years ago anyway. So I've been, and like you were saying, Alex, you don't have those cues. I don't have like, oh, I have a bus to catch, so I literally have to go, or I will miss my bus and then I live here. But I got really careful because I was starting to burn out because I was working way too much. And I got very protective of that a couple years ago. So I'm kind of in that habit anyway, but it fell away really fast at the beginning of quarantine because, hey, it's right here. And at the time, my desk was in the main part of the house. Downstairs, we have an open floor plan, and no matter where I went, there was. So it was that's been a lot of effort to make sure, hey, your workday starts at this time. Yes, it's very easy because your commute is 40 seconds. It's very easy to just go ahead and wander in there because it's an hour early, but whatever. That's so bad in the long run.
Or
Or what?
alternatively, at the end of the day, if I see like a new build pop, I'm like, I wonder if there's any bug regressions I can just sneak in at the end of the day.
I fight guilt when I get up in the morning and I check my email when I start my work day, and I'm like, oh gosh, here's emails that came in at like 8 o'clock at night. And then I'm like, oh, should I be doing that? No, that person shouldn't be doing that either.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Connor?
I was just going to say, it is one of the things that switched notes a little bit to things that are kind of nice. I'm feeling lazy. Being able to roll out of bed like 15 minutes before like I actually start is nice on off days.
It's very true. It is super true.
It's like I don't have to wake up as long before work. I can wake up like just a little bit before I intend to start working.
I have access to my full kitchen for every meal, which is
Yes.
bananas.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
And also having a cat, as we talked about, show up randomly is a nice.
It's fantastic.
It's distracting, but it is pleasant.
We did have a long conversation yesterday in our episode 4 team about how much we miss the food trucks though at work.
Oh,
that is true.
Yeah, it was a long
I hadn't thought about that.
A painful conversation.
Yeah. Wait,
which
Ruby,
food truck do you miss the most? That would be a Mark question, and I don't know the answer to that. He should.
Okay.
If he does,
Box on wheels to answer your question.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Fox
Oh,
on
Box
Wheels.
on
Back to food
Wheels.
trucks. Yeah.
Their chop salad was
Yeah.
fantastic. What about you
Chopped
guys?
salad.
My like
Yeah.
Hmm?
yeah, their
What, Ken?
yuzu aioli and their fries are really good too. But I
Oh,
would
I never
say
got anything but the salad.
instead of picking something that I like would normally get, I would say something that I'd been like anticipating, but I didn't get like the one time that I got there was Fork and Fin. I wanted to try their
Oh, they're so good.
yeah,
Oh yeah, they're
their
dangerously good.
yeah.
They are.
Yes.
Shortly before quarantine, I guess shortly before PAX East, my husband happened to have a day off work, and I was like, "Hey, let's like come down to Bellevue and let's have a lunch date. And I want you to try Fork and Fin because I thought he would really like it." And they weren't at our complex that day. They were over like near Bungee. So we headed over
Mhm.
there, and it was cool because we got to see some friends, just run into him in the parking lot. But the Fork and Fin guy like recognized me as an ArenaNet person because and every time I went out there when he was at ArenaNet, he was like out there talking to coworkers and like he knew everybody by name. The guy is ridiculously nice, and I miss him.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that, and now I'm sad.
There's a lot of food
So,
truck people that were super nice and like would remember people and were always super friendly.
yeah,
Ultimate
Um,
Melt,
yeah.
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 Oh gosh, the ultimate milk guy was so sweet. Um, thank you.
According
Now I
to
want grilled
I
cheese.
think yeah, well, according to a schedule that was posted in our chat, it's in Redmond today near Tipsy Cow. So
Oh, seriously?
Excellent.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I want them to do well. I like want all the food trucks to make it through. I want all the food trucks to make it through the pandemic. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
please.
The thing that the food trucks gave us that helped a lot was that it was an element of randomness that would come in
Yeah.
to the studio, right? You never really knew what
Yeah,
you were
because
going to
sometimes they
get
didn't
unless you looked
show.
at the schedule, which nobody did. And
Sometimes they were
yeah,
random things that we'd never seen before,
yeah,
right? It would just be like,
Mhm.
this is the new truck that no one's ever gotten. There's always this mystery of like, is the truck going to be good?
yeah.
Like
It doesn't
everyone's
Oh,
very
yeah.
quite
stoked who's
happen
the
anymore.
first person to go. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. All right. We should all start asking each other what we had for lunch today and was it good and was it weird and should I not have it? So, but yeah, and a note on something that Connor said about good things, because I don't want us to just sit around and be like, this is awful, because there are a lot of upsides. When we were in the office, my commute was 50-mile round trip, most of it on 405. And that was terrible. I hated it. Totally worth it, but it was not like on bad days, I was on the road 3+ hours a day to get to and from work.
Yeah.
Big 5 is a nightmare. I don't have that anymore. I can sleep in. I can like wander downstairs in my pajamas and make coffee and take my time drinking it instead of like grabbing it from my husband on the way out the door as I run for the car. And that is like I've literally gotten up to 3 hours a day back in my life. And that means I get to go out and I get to play in my garden or I get to hang out with kids, and it does make a good difference. I am a lot less
Yeah.
tired these days.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
there's also some good collaboration tools on Teams actually. One that I've gotten a lot of use out of, which allows people to coordinate in a way that's new that we weren't
Mhm.
really able to do in person even, is when you screen share on Teams, other people can request control, which doesn't mean they take control away. It means they get an additional mouse on your
Oh,
screen.
yeah.
So you can be like, if someone's working on like in the map, you could actually be like, okay, well, hold on a second. Instead of me just trying to point and describe the thing, like I can, if you let me do it, I can just like click and like highlight the specific thing I'm talking about,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
in some ways that makes close collaboration with like map art and with other designers easier. And that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been handy. Screen sharing can be a little bit scary. Um, not in a bad and horrible and embarrassing way. Um,
Yeah.
but I hadn't thought
One of the
about this the other
questions
day.
that
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one of the questions that we got actually was about how the writers actually use those tools to work on the story content.
Yeah.
Uh, which you know, we use Teams, and the way it normally works is that, you know, someone, you know, Tom, usually, or Bobby Stein, the associate narrative director, will have the script that we're reading up on screen, and we'll use that screen sharing tool to read through it. And you know, we do what we do in the studio, right? It's all of us, and we're just voicing out we're voicing the roles, and we're reading through it. And it's still as much fun now as it is in the studio. What's up, Connor?
Alex, what?
I said you're a fantastic voice actor, by the way.
Oh,
I always
thank
enjoy
you.
your takes during those readings.
Oh man, I have heard. Oh well.
How do we get an invite to that meeting? No reason.
Yeah, I was thinking that, you know, because we're still dealing with the fallout from, you know, the COVID situation in Hollywood, we're thinking, okay, well, you know, maybe we should just do a stream when episode 4 launches, and it's the narrative team, you know.
I think
we're doing our terrible voices.
I think there's still a bit of you in one of the bits. When I watched something recently, I'm like, I think that's still Alex's voice, and I'll confirm with you later. But
wait, what?
Oh my gosh,
let's see.
Alex, talk to me about this live stream after the show.
Okay. Yes. And the Asura, usually, yeah, I get pegged with the Asura voices usually. Goric and Timey, they like to cast me as Goric and Timey for reasons that defy understanding. I can't possibly understand why.
Do you get to say no to this?
No, I don't.
Okay.
It's forced on me.
Fantastic. Why would he ever? Yeah, he brings joy to everybody.
Yeah,
it's bringing joy to me, and I haven't even heard it.
It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. These these voiceover sort of reads that we do. We've been doing them for years, ever since Tom became our narrative director. We've been all getting in the room and doing these reads, and we've talked about it a lot on Guild Chat. Honestly, the thing that has changed is that more people are able to come to these things, because usually we're limited by the size of the meeting room. You know, like now we can have as many people listening in as we want, and that's been a huge help for things like table reads, which is when we go through everything one last time before we lock it in. And normally it's like, okay, well, we've got all the writers in there, we've got editing, we've got localization, we've got the designers of the content, and the room is like bursting to capacity. But now we don't have to worry about that quite so much, which is kind of nice.
That's handy. You know what? On that topic, why don't we talk about general productivity? What has affected it for you guys? Well, what's been challenging? How's it changed overall? Or have you had to adapt? Kent.
Okay. This one's about a bit of a mixed bag because in some ways, like there's like a familiarity or comfortableness with being at my usual desk station, and so there's that. But you know, and I'm pretty vocal about this on I think Twitter, but I have ADHD, inattentive type, so there are aspects of that condition that I think are kind of intensified or amplified by working from home, because there is that familiarity and like comfortableness, but it's like I think it's a little, and I think, to touch on an earlier point I made before, the whole like work home separation, that's part of the reason why it's so important, I think, to me. But one of the great things about you know, being vocal about this is that I've actually kind of like discovered and run into a bunch of my own coworkers who also are going through the same thing I am, and also have ADHD, and we created a neurodiversity channel on Teams, and so we kind of like keep touch with each other and check in. It's really nice.
I was literally sitting here going, I wonder if he knows about that channel. I wonder if he's there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is.
Speaking as someone else with ADHD, that is definitely nice to have. Yeah.
It helps. It helps a lot, because my concentration has really suffered. I am unbelievably forgetful, And I am so lucky to have a team of people that we are always proactive about kind of reminding each other and picking up the slack for each other when we struggle.
Yeah.
That helps a
And
lot,
it,
but I feel like I'm more forgetful, and I lose track of stuff more easily now that I'm home.
yeah, and like that's just like for me, it's like a big shout out to my producer, our current producer Matt Lambden, and also Sarah, who did production for episode 4. They've just been like on the ball, and especially also my design lead Kirk, who's been just keeping on top of things and checking in with me.
Yeah.
So that's also
And,
They are
yeah.
fantastic.
James Richter in a big way as well. Like shout out to the whole production team. Without them,
Yes.
I would be surfing YouTube all day probably. But yeah, it's
seriously
that's not
huge
true in
shout
any
out
way,
to
shape, or
producers
form, but,
everywhere.
yes,
Good
absolutely.
producers are worth their weight in
Mhm.
gold, and we love you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is. But yeah, it is a thing that I think a lot of us are struggling with right now, and that's been the biggest impact to my productivity. And again, having your peers around you that both understand and aren't shy about giving you that push when it's needed and helping you keep track and remember things has been invaluable. It sounds like to all of us.
Yeah.
So, so for your working experience overall, and we've kind of been touching on this under the umbrella of productivity, but for your work experience overall, what are some of the big differences for you guys? And that can be, hey,
Well,
I stopped wearing real pants, or
sweat shorts
as
all
opposed
day,
to
every day.
fake pants, Ruby. Like, what does that mean? I don't know what that.
mesmer pants. I don't know. I am 100% wearing yoga pants right now because I want to be comfortable, and I have no shame about it. Don't care.
Pants are
What
pants.
about
It's
you
kind
guys?
of a binary thing. You either have pants or you
Yeah.
don't. That's okay. Sorry.
Yeah. But overall, how has your working experience changed?
It's
And I
been
don't
kind
care
of a
who goes
wash
first.
for me, because a lot of what the writing staff tries to do is, we spend half of our time in meetings and we spend half of our time writing. Actually, it's more like 3/4 of our times in meetings and 1/4 of our time writing.
I was like, that seems conservative.
Yeah. It's more like, we get the download of what's going on, and we talk to the design team, and we hook up with our producers, and then we try to sit down and focus and write. And sometimes that can be difficult. A lot of the time when we really have to crank out a script, we will, like this is alone time. I need to get up and I need to go somewhere and I need to work. Sometimes we'll go to an office. Sometimes we'll go into the common room. Sometimes I would just say, hey, I don't have any more meetings this afternoon. I'm going to take my work and I'm going to go somewhere like a coffee shop, and I'm going to just bang out this script.
Okay.
For the rest of the day. Now, we have these digital meetings and we spend a lot of time in them, but it's easier to find that focus time for writing, which is a good and a bad thing, because, without the ambiance that you're used to, it can be difficult to find that sort of creative, mojo.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll have no problem. I'll click into place and I will just bang out a script, no problem. And sometimes, I'll just be staring at a white sheet of paper for a day, and it's a difference. It's a change. But we're still hitting our milestones, and we're all pretty happy with how things are going, and at least for narrative, things are still trucking along. The team support really makes all the difference. Having people there to collaborate with, to talk with constantly, is a huge boon. So that's really made the difference, I think.
Yeah. How about you, Connor? How's your working experience changed overall? What are some of the big impacts?
The big thing for me is like, as my, a lot of my style and a lot of how I did things was, if I needed to talk to someone, I would just walk over and talk to them, right? And there's still some of that with timing them, but it's harder to tell, like, what someone's up to, right? How much are you disrupting them
Yeah.
if you're doing that? Like, often you could just when I would walk by, I'd be like, okay, they're clearly working on something. I'll poke them later, right? Like, but at the same time, like, it's also they can just ignore the messages until they have time to look at it. Um,
Yeah.
but so that's and so but one basically the side effects is that, as I talked about earlier, like not only is do I talked about doing work to keep other people in the loop, I also do a lot more work to poke people about stuff that I'm curious about that's not like directly my things, but it's good to know about what's going on throughout the studio, right? Like I'm not
Mhm.
on Living World, but I want to know like how things are going over there. So I'll like check in with Kirk and I'll check in with Cameron and things like that and see like what the latest developments are, right? Because it's important for me to know, even if it's not a daily thing for me.
Yeah.
And it's just harder to get that ambient information that with things you would have learned from like sitting down with lunch with someone or like walking
Mhm.
down the hall and running into someone in the kitchen. What are you doing today? Oh, I'm working on this. Oh, that's neat, right? Like that doesn't happen. You don't have
Yeah.
the impromptu like what are you up to conversations. You have to be like, hey, I'm curious what you're up to, and it's very different. Um, but yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Kent?
Yeah, working experience overall. It's it's been a lot of that, and I know we touched on this earlier about like, and the whole like making sure you don't work past like how long you're supposed to, and that's been a real challenge
Yeah.
for me, especially as we get closer to release. There is definitely um sort of this like pull to keep working and like until you're I guess satisfied with like how much work you've gotten done during a day.
Mhm.
um it it's not the best sort of kind of like habit, but but I also know like in a week it'll be over. And yeah, and I'm looking forward to kind of like taking it easy for about a week or so after episode 4 drops.
11 days.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But I have, on that note though, Connor
Mhm.
brought it up. I have on occasion messaged him about, because I'm going to be moving to what he's working on afterward. So we're going to be connecting. Yeah.
Very cool. So you're getting
No,
close.
no further
I
comments
wrote
on that though.
this.
No further comments. Honestly,
No,
I feel like
he will enter the
maybe
veil
this
of
is
silence.
maybe this is like a symptom of how my workflow has changed. I don't like reflexively go "Er," when that happens. I'm just like, I trust you guys. Don't make me sorry, please.
I don't trust myself, so I'm doing the
Have some of my faith
checking
in
for you.
you.
Yeah.
It's for you. Um,
Yeah.
so speaking, how has your guys' workflow changed with this? Like for example, for me, I don't have a lot of I don't have those in-house accountability factors where I'm sitting in the room with the rest of my team and I have to sit down and like make a very clear list every day of this is what's happening. It's Monday. Here's what's happening. Here are the meetings you have. I have to have that in front of me. Um, and I have to be
I'll
like, okay, you're allowed 50 to this thing, or it's not going to happen. What about you guys?
I always start the day by checking my email, and
Terrible
that's
mistake.
usually like end of day, just but
Mhm.
just to keep track of, because there are like things we get in, like if QA requests are finished, and you have to just to make sure that there's no feedback, and then looping in the designers if there is, and checking to make sure that just to verify them and kick them down the request flow line, essentially.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Connor?
Yeah.
What about you, Alex?
No, I talk a lot. Connor should go.
I also talk a
Go
lot.
ahead, Connor.
Alex should go. No.
No, Connor, go.
Uh, my workflow, I honestly don't know if it's changed that much. Because the first thing I do is I log into remote desktop. and then I basically go through the flow of stuff that I did before, just over remote desktop instead of on my desktop. So, I open up my email, I check my emails, I open up
Mhm.
uh, whatever editing programs I'm using that day, and arrange my windows in a way that like I can look at them both at the same time and switch between things. Um, there's always a little bit of make sure I have everything synced. Like it's that honestly, it's kind of been kind of surprising to me that my workflow has not changed as dramatically. The one thing that can disrupt it is
Cool.
if the internet is unstable, I might be like, all right,
Mhm.
this period of time is a wash, so I'll make my work hours like a little bit strange. I'll adjust them like a little bit dynamically, just to like to adjust to whatever the constraints are that are
Sure.
randomly introduced into my life. But yeah,
All right, that makes sense. So I do want to. We're going on an hour, but I do want to hit on some questions from our players, just to get your guys' take on this. Um, a couple of these we've touched on a little bit, but you can go into more depth if you want to. What, if anything, do you do in your home office to make it feel like you're going home when the work is over? Do you have special rules you impose on yourself during business hours, or if you or if you completely given up on wearing real pants like the rest of us?
What are
varies from day to day.
Yeah, it does. Depends.
Yeah, I mean,
Depends on.
I have to get dressed in normal person clothes, or I can't function as a professional. Like I tried it, like initially we're like, I was like, oh, working from home, that's so cool. Now we can do like, school's out, can't, no one can stop
Yeah,
me.
like
Principal
sweats for
can't stop me.
days.
Yeah, so like, I'm like, oh, sweatpants and like grungy hoodies and stuff. And ultimately I just realized I wasn't nearly as productive because, I'm it'd be great if I just like watch television and like I can't do that.
Uh-huh.
I have to be, like dressed in, at the computer working, and then when the day is done, turn off the computer. Like that's been a big thing. Is turning the
Yeah.
computer off, not just like closing the lid, like definitely turning the thing off, and just stepping physically away from it as far physically as I can, which in my case is about 3 feet that way because that's my couch and that's where I watch television. But when you have a Bellevue apartment, you make do with what you can.
Yeah, but you get to live in Bellevue, so
I do, but now the benefits of that don't really, make a whole lot of sense. It's like, oh, all the cool stuff that's right within walking distance, that's
it's
closed, and you can't
closed.
do it anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
way up
say.
here in Mill Creek is not so bad right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say for me the separation is like non-existent. So like inside your home office to make it feel like when I'm going home, work is over. But I'm like also in the place where I hang out the most, I think, because it's
Yeah.
like there's not much to the rest of the house really, other than like the kitchen and there's like a living room area, but there's not much around there. So it's really just like I'll like my separation is like me going up to go like make dinner. Like that's the end of my work day, and then I come back and I'm like work is over. Now this room is, like it's relaxation time. But
Yeah.
yeah.
How about you, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to sync with basically everyone else where there isn't as much separation as I probably should establish, right? Like it's like I know, but
Giving you the look.
I am one of the things is I am also in the same camp of I determined fairly early on that I have to get actually dressed every day because if I don't, I'm just like, well, especially I think it's combined with the choice to having go back to my parents during quarantine. I didn't
Mhm.
mention my office is set up in the basement, so I'm like, how much of a stereotype do I really want to be? Like
Oh no.
in my parents' basement in like a bathrobe, like working on my computer. Like, nah, I got to at least have clothes on. So
I didn't think about
that's
that.
Yeah, like so as part of my, it's a matter of personal dignity more than anything else. And there's also the lingering thought. It was like, what if I accidentally turn my camera on and I'm in my bathrobe and people are
Oh, you
so
guys, that's like my nightmare. So I mean, we joke about not wearing real pants. My criteria has become, would you answer the door in this?
Yes,
If
that's
your
good
son
criteria.
brings his
Yeah.
girlfriend over, would you die of shame? And like that's my threshold. Like, am I cool with other people seeing what I have on right now? And if the answer is yes, then you're good for the day. So yeah, but I think what Alex was saying, for a while there was, we were all kind of enjoying that stereotype and that joke about, oh my gosh, we're at home, we're by ourselves, we can just completely fall to pieces. And I think we all kind of had that gradual learning curve of, this is not great for productivity and also my personal dignity. Like Connor said,
If this had
I am
gone on for like
gross
a week,
now.
then sure, if it had just gone on for like a week or two, then great, no problem. But then it started
But it's
dragging
been like,
on, and
what,
I
5 months?
completely
Yeah.
unfooled, and then had to
When did
respool myself. And, yeah.
When does it
Yeah,
stop
I like.
becoming a thing that you do and become who you are? You are
Dun
now
dun
back.
dun. So aside from not wearing dignified grown-up clothes, what are some of the things that are easier when done from home, and what things are harder? And I think that's intended like in the context of shipping a game
Oh.
or shipping live content.
It's not
I
in
think
the
it's
context of
similar.
like making popcorn or brownies or something.
Yeah.
We're talking about game development now.
No,
That's
but
sweet bread,
Alex, I
Alex.
did just have like this. I did just have like this sudden. Oh my
I
gosh! Remember that time that Alex
I
caught
do
you in
have
the
a
kitchen and
thing.
was like, "Come eat Rice Krispie
Yeah.
treats," and that's
I have a thing
gone.
that is harder, which is that when Alex bakes treats, I don't get any.
Right?
It's true.
Yes.
It's a
I
tragedy.
hate it.
Like,
Yeah. It may not look like it, but I've gained 18,000 pounds since we started working from home, because I will bake things and I'll bring them in for the whole studio. And that doesn't happen anymore. So I bake things and then I have to eat all of them. And it's very sad because that means I'm going to die soon. But on the plus side,
no,
you know, yeah,
no, Alex.
yeah, it's been in the context of making games, not brownies. Yes, some things have been made easier. I think we've talked about a lot of them. The being able to collaborate with a lot more people than physical space usually allows has been very helpful. Being able to instantly collaborate with people who, it's like, oh, normally in a studio environment, these two people are always talking because, they're always working very closely together. And so they're sitting next to each other, and you don't want to interrupt their conversations because they're always very important. Now, that doesn't quite happen as much. You can just sort of say like, hey, I'm putting out a feeler. If you're ready to have a chat, let's do it. And then boop, they're up on your screen, no problem. And now you're collaborating with those people. It's that particular element's been great, being able to collaborate with people in departments that you usually don't collaborate with. Everyone is the same distance apart now, So it's been pretty great at facilitating that stuff.
I do have a flip side for things that are harder, which I personally struggle with. I don't know, and I always feel like I struggle with it disproportionately, but I know other people do this too, which is the cues of when someone is done talking, because there's often a delay, are harder.
I don't know what you're talking about, Connor.
Oh God! This is why I call on you now.
Yeah, but that's why actually. But the thing that we do a lot of the time now is there's a feature where you can like raise your hand, and it's kind of like kindergarten, right? Where it's like, I have a thing to say, and then like people get called on like when they have, but it does make thing a lot easier. A lot easier. I also have developed a habit of ending statements with, and that's the end of my thought, and that's the end of my thought.
I yield my time.
Over and out.
I yield my time. Goodbye.
We were in a meeting last week where that was happening. And I jokingly suggested that we start using like like Novera out, and it took, and I was so happy for the rest of the meeting. I had nothing else to say in that meeting after that. I had already finished my thing, but it was fantastic listening to everybody. Like Matt out was like the best thing. So I would like to propose that you all do that.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
You didn't end with it though, so I'm assuming you're not done. You gotta say Ruby out now.
Okay, and then I'll turn off
Not
my camera and
doing
I will leave this room.
Oh,
So,
Welcome to
Alex,
the
I
Alex
do
Kane
want
Show.
to. It's now the Alex Kane Show. Alex, I do want to point out, as far as the baking that you have to eat yourself, I've been mailing, I love baking also. I've been mailing boxes of cookies to friends. So you can get rid of it and make people happy. So I'm just saying, I will give you my address later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need addresses.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do you a favor, Alex.
You
We'll eat
just
those
dug
baked goods.
yourself a big hole there, Ruby. Like, man, oh man.
Yay! And you can support the post office. Now, I ordered like a big stack of shipping boxes and started sharing with friends that way via the post office. And I'm realizing that none of you have received cookies, and I'm sorry. Now I feel bad.
Just my luck. I'll skimp and I'll get like a flat rate envelope and I'll shove a bunch of cookies in there and you'll get it and it'll be all crumpled up.
Oh, cookie crumbs. Yay. So, all right. Well, let's see. There was a question about, did you guys take equipment, software, and computers from the offices in order to continue working? I think we've confirmed that we have all ransacked our workstations. What is?
I don't
What is?
think I
Oh,
took
go ahead.
I was
Oh,
just saying,
dude, you
I
should.
don't think I didn't. I mean, I already had like everything that I technically needed at home. But
Yeah, I took
I
very
have-
little. I just took a monitor.
Well, I don't even feel a little bit bad. I have 3 monitors here. I have like an Origin laptop and my office chair and like all of my decorations. I made 2 trips and I did not feel a little bit bad because we live here now.
I will
I
say
had to go
one
back
thing
and get
that I
my
did
coffee
buy.
making supplies. I had my grinder and stuff in the office because I'm a
that's
coffee
important.
nerd. And
Yay.
so I had to go back and get that. But that's it.
Alex,
I had
have a
everything.
I will
question
say-
for you.
Oh wait,
You
what
have
were
a
you saying,
question for
Kit?
me?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Oh,
which is
I
that
was
you
gonna
told a
say the-
lovely story
oh.
about. Oh, go. Sorry. Steve?
Okay, Kent and then Connor. Kent, go.
I'll raise my hand. No. The one major purchase I did make was an portable air conditioner, which was
Yes.
like for most people is like most people assume that Seattle like is, and generally most of the time it has pretty mild temperatures, but there is like a period of time where it does get really hot and warm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not a fan. So I got a fan.
Oh, Kent.
Ah,
Meanwhile, I hate today's weather. I just want that on the record. I am sad and resentful of today's weather. So,
Yeah.
Connor, what were you going to say?
nope, it's not important. It will forever remain a mystery.
Fine by me.
Okay, no, it's fine. I was just curious. Why haven't you got that fancy keyboard that you love so much, Alex, from your office?
Yeah, I want to know.
It's really wide. The keyboard is really wide, and I don't really have enough desk space for it. So what I do have, aside from my Surface laptop, the keyboard I normally use for like gaming is this. It's a Keychron that is a wireless keyboard that I can just sort of pick up and move around. And the Unicomp Model M is like the size of a Volkswagen, and I can't really just easily move it around. And it's wired too, so it takes up.
Can't fit it in your car.
So yeah, I'm now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking, you know what? Okay, if I like get rid of my speakers and I move some things around, and okay, all right, maybe I could
Get a bigger desk.
This desk, by the way, like I'll show you, like, so like that's the wall,
C6.
right? And it's like right up against it. So I really don't have a lot of space to expand the desk. I got lucky this time.
But you have an office
but next
nook.
time. I do have an office nook, which, you know, not
Now
every
I'm wondering-
apartment comes with an office nook.
It's true. Now I wonder if anyone has actually taken their like 6-foot desk table from the office. I'm kind of curious if, like, did anybody go that far?
I think people did.
Seriously?
Yeah, maybe.
Holy
No, I think
crap.
some people did.
Okay, that's intense, and I'm impressed. Because I do kind of miss my 6-foot desk. I finally got one last year. I was using like a 5-foot one up until then, and I love it so much.
As someone with a roommate,
Sorry.
Go ahead,
as someone with a roommate who has who recently just bought a standing desk, I can probably see people possibly, taking a standing desk if they can fit it in a vehicle. But yeah.
If I had gotten one of those standing desks that some people have, it would absolutely be here at home because I would not leave that in the office for this long.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Connor?
that I think that once for people who are taking their whole stations, at a certain point, it becomes a question of what's easier. It's probably easier to just roll your whole desk out and then take it. I mean, than it is to bring all the individual components. I don't know.
It's true. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love this question from one of our players. What is management and leadership doing to organize everything right now and keep your morale up? I want to talk about morale things.
Ooh, we did the goat thing. That was the thing we did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The goat thing was fantastic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
Studio leadership did a cool thing where there is, I guess, an organization that takes people on video conference live tours of this farm, and they had all these rescue animals there. They had.
You have to tell them what it was called.
I can't remember these things. It was like a million years ago in work from home time. Yes, goat to meeting. Yes, it was a lot of fun. And we were all kind of skeptical at first. We were like, okay, this like has all the hallmarks of a thing that sounds really cool, but is probably going to be super lame. But no, it was the coolest thing ever. And I know that I'm still sort of riding on the high of that, you know. So yeah, like long story short, I'm way more excited about this than I should be. It was
I am right there with you.
And yeah, because we used to do regular morale events, right? There used to be, and it was very simple. You know, it's like, oh, cake, cookies, nachos. You know, like there's just stuff that gets people in the same space, having fun and talking with each other.
Right.
So the studio leadership's had to get. Yeah, studio leadership has had to get a little bit more clever about that stuff. So goat to meeting was one of those things, and that was great. And I'm hopeful that there's more of that stuff in the future that they decide to do.
Studio leadership.
They also gave us like in the adjustment to working from home, a lot of people became overwhelmed. You know, they were doing that thing where they were just working nonstop because they didn't know how to stop because they'd never had to do that before. Studio leadership's been very good about, you know, like, hey, if you need a day, take a day. Like everyone should just take a day. Don't worry about your paid time off or anything like that. Just decompress, get away from the computer. And that has also been extraordinarily helpful. So yeah, those are the two instances I can think of in particular.
Yeah.
I have 2 days in the hole.
You're 2 days in the hole?
So I have 2 days like backlogged essentially that I can take off. It'll be part of the week probably that I take off after this release. But yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
What were you going to say? So and I actually can't remember at the moment how wide this goes in the org, but there's a Friday night virtual happy hour where it's like a Teams meeting, have a cocktail with you, turn your camera on, and let's just hang out for a while on Friday night. So that's like, I think it's like at 5 o'clock after work is done for the day. And everybody can just kind of have a little bit of social time as best you can right now and unwind. So that's been an ongoing thing since we've been at home.
There has been a few times now that are like our teams has like bug triage meetings at the end of each day, and there's been a number of times now where those meetings have kind of like run longer past kind of like EOD just because we just end up talking for a period of time afterwards.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. So there's some things that you guys simply can't do away from the office. Are there things in your workflow that cannot happen remotely and that have to be in the office?
As much as we've tried, I don't think we have a good substitute for standing in front of a whiteboard and all writing things on the whiteboard. Like there's
Yes.
decent
Oh, yeah,
there's
that's true.
decent approximations, but there's nothing that quite hits that same feeling. And we've gotten creative, but it's just that is an experience that is not easily replicated. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was
brainstorming
literally
on the
going to
great
say
big
whiteboards.
whiteboard. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that is a thing that we've made heavy use of, I think, on all teams. Brainstorming for brainstorming upcoming stuff and just general ideas. So yeah, that's a thing that I think we've all kind of had to work around. We need like a digital whiteboard embedded in Teams or something.
They do. It's
We'd
just
all
not
need to have
particularly great.
tablets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
It's drawing with your mouse is just like
Okay, so yeah, it's not great.
Comes with
Yeah,
built-in
there
chalk
are.
noises.
Oh,
yeah,
gross!
which
I
is
hate
really
it. I will
obnoxious.
never
I don't
use
know why
that.
they implemented that.
It's awful. Ugh. Ugh, my fingernails hurt right now. That's awful. Thanks, man. Ugh.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. Other than the camaraderie, yeah, we are going to talk to our next group here in a minute, but there's one more question from a viewer that I want to touch on. Other than the camaraderie of in-person contact, what do you miss most from the office work experience? And I have to note that one of our devs, Robert, was looking at the questions and he would like it known that he misses the goldfish crackers more than anything. So
Oh,
I'm
the
going to
hamster
let him know
feeders.
later that if
Yeah.
he
Oh,
goes to the
for
store
sure.
and gives them money, they will give him goldfish crackers.
No, there's no. They only
You can
exist
buy
in the
them in a
office.
store. They're publicly available. Like it's not like ArenaNet
Maybe he
branded
just
special crackers.
he wants goldfish crackers in the little yellow cup from the hamster feeder. It's the goldfish cracker experience from our kitchen.
I do miss the hamster.
So what about you
feeders.
guys?
Yeah.
The hamster feeders were dangerous though. Like, oh,
Yeah.
40,000 Reese's Pieces, have some.
Yeah. I mean, every game studio has that problem, right?
Yeah.
It's the worst.
So yeah, that's
Or
the,
like-
the camaraderie element is a big part of it. You know, we were talking about like the lunch trucks. We were talking about like me bringing in food for everyone. Honestly, it really is just the ambiance of being around physical people. There's just an element to it that you can't quite capture in the digital space. Just that sort of low hum of activity going around. You know, when you're in a studio, that's very difficult to capture in a digital environment, and no one's really figured out a good way to do that. And I think that that's had an effect on my productivity to some degree. And I don't know, Connor, if you agree, but that to me has probably been the biggest hit to me, like to the mental shift, is that sort of constant hum of, you know, keyboards typing and, you know, computers whirring and the air conditioner and like all the sounds and the ambiance of being in the studio are just gone now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
In college, there was a place that I would hang out most of the time in between classes. It was like a student-run coffee shop called the Eighth Note, and we, but you know, there'd be like a lot of students just hanging out there, having conversations, and had like that kind of like almost like bar set up. So there were bar stools too, so you could be sitting up at like the bar counter, and working on homework and that sort of stuff, or projects, and that. Yeah, like I've got really used to working when there's like a lot of background and kind of like white noise, and that was definitely one of, I think, the benefits of working in an open office environment, which no longer exists. So, yeah, I'm definitely with you there, Alex, on that.
How about you, Connor?
There's this paradoxical element where a lot of the things that I feel like I miss most, like working at home, a lot of distractions in quotes are removed, which are like a lot of those ambient people having conversations about random things, stuff like that. But it really becomes clear how much some of those things help you recharge and then actually help you get more stuff done in the long run. Like I will remember there were definitely times, and we talked about this during, I think, the last when we were giving a postmortem for when we gave the guild chat for a Shadow in the Ice, about like how we'd have the entire Living World team get in an argument about Twizzlers versus like Red Vine, and like that's just random conversations like that can't happen. And those things really served as a nice, like, provided variety in the day that helped it not just become grind. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I miss those. I miss those random exchanges, because even now, like, you can have random conversations with someone, but there's always like because you have to take initiative, there's almost always a clear purpose, right? It's not like I came across something and I had that experience of having a conversation about something random with someone, which then may have been inspiring or, like, helped me recharge or something like that. So yeah, the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
For real though, Twizzlers, right?
Okay.
Why?
Wait, get
so
out of here.
what? Okay, so are you a Red Vine fan?
No, I'm a Twizzlers fan.
How about you, Connor? You're Red Vines?
I thought I was a Twizzlers fan, but when this debate broke out, I tried both of them, and Red Vines are definitely better.
All right, Alex, I don't care that much, so Alex, you have to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, this is absolutely a conversation I'm going to get involved in right now.
There, Connor, there's your argument. I provided a fight for you.
Thank you. It was not nearly as heated as it was last time. There was literally a Twizzler that I think Eric had taped to the whiteboard that had an arrow pointing it that says, "Tastes like shoe polish and regret."
Please let that still be there when we go back.
No, I really hope this Twizzler is not still taped to the whiteboard. It'll probably be green.
Green apple.
Okay. Oh no. I talked to somebody last night at work, and I can't remember who it is now, so whoever you are, I'm very sorry. This is part of what I was talking about earlier. I'm super forgetful. But the other morning I was doing something. I was like making coffee or something, and I had like this sudden spasm of panic, remembering all of the dairy products that are at work. And I was just like, did anybody clean out the fridge? Like, or is there just like still, oh no. So I was asking somebody, and they were like, no, it's fine. The milk got cleaned out. The soda fridge did not get cleaned out. And whoever was telling me that said, it turns out that diet soda does go bad. I had no idea. It's like diet soda is barely food anymore. It's just chemicals.
Bubbly water.
I don't know, but yes, it turns out that we did at least take that precaution. So, yeah.
This is that hot Guild Wars 2 content that people love.
I mean, this is our life now, and my little Quaggan stress toy. More Guild Wars 2 stuff that I brought home. So, all right. Well, is there anything else that you guys want to add? Go ahead, Kit.
I was gonna say I have to tuck in my Charlie over there behind me at some point.
Yeah, he looks very comfortable. What about you guys, Alex and Connor? Anything else before we go to break?
We never actually showed the picture of my cat.
Oh yeah, Mark, did we get a picture of your cat? Okay. Yes, Mark says he has it. Hold on. This is important.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is my cat.
Oh yeah.
As many ways as possible to shove herself in like various shelves behind me, working. So
this is the content I'm here for.
Yeah, right. My office door is closed. Because Sasha will come in here and just yell, and Bunny will get up on the desk and actually like, all right, it's time for me to sit on your entire mouse pad. So I try to like get a little modicum of peace and not allow them in. So no cats here. Sorry.
They're
All right. Well,
they're worried about you.
they are not. They are hungry. They don't care about me. They're cats.
Some cats do.
All right. They're wonderful and I love them. They're perfect babies. So, all right. Well, thank you guys very much for sharing part of your day and for talking about what it's like to ship a game at home. You guys watching, we have 3 more of our dev team to join us after the break. So stick around and we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, welcome back. We are already like ruining Nick here. So
Okay.
thank you guys for spending some of your time with us today. Why don't you get us started by introducing yourselves and talking about what you do here at ArenaNet. We're going to go Nick, Megan, Jason. So Nick.
Okay. Should I look into the camera? Okay. Hi.
Yes,
I'm
please.
Nick. And I am a game designer here at ArenaNet. My most recent work is the Assault on the Frost Citadel for episode 4. That's coming out on the 28th, as multiple people have mentioned already in the last round. That's me.
Spoilers. I don't know.
That was a part of
Alright,
the
Megan.
trailers. That's not a spoiler.
That's fair. Okay.
I'm Megan. I will look at the camera
Introduce
now.
both of you.
Very dark. Okay. I'm Megan, and this is Mo.
Mo.
She is a dog.
We love Mo.
My other dog doesn't like to be held, so she will not be here. So my name's Megan. I am a map artist. You know me from such hits as episode 4, which is not out yet, so I guess you don't. And also episode 1, and also Glenn's Legacy, and also other things, but those are my favorites. So
That's a fantastic hit list. I love it. And I love Mo and his blip.
Yes, he is a good boy.
He's a very good boy. All right. How about you, Jason?
Hey, I'm Jason. I'm the cinematics marketing lead, which basically just means I put together the trailers. Most recently, the episode 4 trailer that launched on Tuesday.
Yay, thank you. And I just saw the joke that was here behind you.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to erase that. Dang it.
I just want to quickly point out, like, Jason says that as if it's like such a minor thing, but like the amount of work that he
Right?
puts into it is insane. So I just want like
Is-
everybody in the audience to know it's a lot of work that he does.
It is. Jason is incredibly
think-
good at what he does and should just acknowledge that.
Sure. I'll absorb it and say everybody does awesome work. So
Yes, that is
Okay.
true.
We're also bad at compliments, you guys.
I know.
One of
very
our
true.
producers
My
complimented me.
reaction is to just be like, no, I don't deserve
Yes.
it. I am trash.
Yes.
Yep. Pretty
Right
much.
before shutdown, one of our producers complimented me and she said, I could see the panic on your face. It's just like, no, make it stop. All right, so let's talk about what this has been like since early March. You guys, we've been home for a while. Like with the first
What is-
group, let's do the practical stuff first and talk about the equipment needed for work that you had to either adjust to or bring back to your place. Jason, why don't you go first?
So I got really lucky in the fact that work had built me out this really awesome capture machine right before we had to, start working from home.
Oh,
So I got to take that beast home, which allows me to do all the capturing at 4K, 60 FPS. And for me, it was really easy to move over to working from home. It was maybe a day that I had some downtime.
Jeez.
And then I was back up. Yeah. It made it, being able to take the machine home and not having to remote in made it really easy. And I was already pretty much, for my job, I mostly work, it's most of the work that I do is on this one machine, and I don't need to access to all this extra hardware or servers or anything like that. It's all done locally. So
So you just bundled up that entire rig and brought it on home?
yeah, I took the beast home. We'll call it the beast, and then a 4K monitor because I'm not up on the current technology at home, and I didn't have a 4K display. So I took that home along with a capture device that's capable of doing 4K 60 FPS, and I was up and running, like I said, within a day. So
that's awesome. I do like that. And I said this in the last segment. I really love how easy the company made it for us to just get whatever we needed and get it home.
Yeah, super props to our tech ops team. They were on the ball. I mean, it was.
Yes,
I can't imagine having to switch a whole entire studio over to working remotely that as quick as they did. Like, I don't know how many people they have that were just churning on that for hours. So
yeah, they worked incredibly hard. So thank you, tech ops. We love you. Megan, how about you?
Oh yeah,
surprise!
Yeah,
this is going to keep happening. FYI.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I had to take out my whole tower, so that was fun. I mean, when I got there to go pick up my stuff, they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna give you like a work from home tower," and I'm like, "That's gonna take forever. Why don't I just take home my regular tower?" And they're like, "You're right." And then so brought home the tower. Got it all hooked up in my little office area to my own monitors, and it's been good so far. But definitely carrying around a big PC tower up and down stairs.
Oh,
it hurt.
Oh no!
So, because my wrist was injured at the time too, so it was like, so
please. Oh gosh, please don't tell me you're like on the 10th floor and only have stairs.
Oh no, I'm not in an apartment right now. I'm actually at a
good
house. So that part was fine. But going from the office down to the parking lot, and yeah. Plus, like all of our computers were upstairs, and like we couldn't get to the next, and like because they were like wishy-washy about like, oh, should we take home our regular PCs or should we take home these work from home PCs? And so like I carried the work from home PC down to the 4th floor, and then they're like, never mind. And so I had to bring it back up to the 5th floor, and then I had to go get my PC and bring it down to the parking garage.
Yeah, there's just a lot of running around carrying towers.
Yeah, but it was a great exercise. So,
so there's that. How about you, Nick?
I'm trying to think of like which part of it I should start out with. So I actually was doing I was like remoting in on a laptop for the first portion of it. So like that was easy, right? You just open up a laptop, it's a remote into your desktop, and it's great.
Yeah.
Except our like editor and our engine doesn't play very well over remote desktop. So it got to a point where I was like, I need to bring my desktop home. And then it was literally just like taking this giant tower and bringing it into my like tiny apartment, and then being like, okay, how do I get all this working? So I like ripped out all of my old stuff, like my old desktop, and I just like put everything else in storage, and then just like shoved all of my work stuff onto my like very small desk. It's fun.
But it's working.
Yes, it is working, thankfully.
Yeah, and that's something that I had mentioned in the last segment. We knew that we needed to start streaming, doing like guild chat and let's plays from home. And my computer at home is fine for gaming, but not really. It's okay, it's terrible for streaming. It's garbage for streaming. For the quality that we like had in the studio in office. So I have like down at the bottom of my desk is this tower with everything unplugged, and I've just plugged everything into the Origin gaming laptop that Tech Ops gave me. I was like, okay, this is my life now. And
I know those
the other
feels.
tower is nope. Do what, Jason?
I forgot to mention that I also took my chair home like a week later. So
Yes!
the first week that I was
Same.
working, I was like, okay, this is a garbage chair. And so I need to go to
Yeah.
work and get my nice, comfy, I can work in this for 8 hours chair.
Like,
Yes, there's a reason these are expensive.
and like you wouldn't really think about it until you have to sit in it for 8 hours a day. Because like I have, I don't know, like a Office Max or IKEA chair like that I've had for years, and I was like, I should be fine. And then like after 3 weeks, my body was like, oh, my back. I was like, I'm old.
Yes, it was not fine at all. Because I tried to martyr myself in the same way. I was like, no, I have like this crappy old chair that I think was probably Office Max discount at some point. That's fine for like an hour. But it's terrible for your job. So good for you guys for getting
we
it.
didn't know how long we were going to be
We didn't know.
out of the office. So like for me, it's like,
Yeah.
I can do this for 2-3 weeks. And then it's like, oh, this is going to be longer than that. I should probably get my nice chair.
Yeah. I can safely
think-
say I did not see this coming.
I don't think any of us did.
I
For me though,
would
it's
not be
like
able
I feel
to do that.
bad. Yeah, I feel bad because like I brought my Office One home and I like move, like it's very easy for me to swivel and I like swiveling. So just tell me if it's distracting and I'll stop.
Yeah,
I'll walk it down.
I will find myself doing this a lot.
Mhm.
What were you going to say, Megan?
Oh, I said no one can blame you for not seeing this happening. So
Yeah, that's.
as far as my
absolutely
chair
did not.
situation goes, I just have like a fancy soft velvet one that I got a while ago, and it's fine.
Because
I
I
decided
want a
to be
fancy
a
soft velvet
princess.
chair.
Well, I decided to be a princess when I bought my chair. So, because I built my desk with my hands, like a lumberjack or something, and so then I had to get a nice chair for it. So,
I like the lumberjack princess dichotomy. This is making me happy.
Yes.
And I want it
Yes.
on your business cards now. Lumberjack princess.
yes, I am a lumberjack princess.
That's extremely cool that you built your desk,
Canon.
though.
Yeah,
It's
there's like a
canon.
bunch of like salvage second use places in Seattle. And so I got this big slab of cedar wood with like a live edge and everything, and I just took it home and like sanded it down and stained it and sealed
Oh
it
my
and put
gosh.
some legs on it, and now it's my desk. So
That's extremely cool. I love that.
I had a lot of
Mine
sawdust
is-
in my nose for like a week.
She's actually just Ron Swanson. I want everybody to know that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, now you're even cooler. Yeah, I'm like looking at my desk. I was like, I think I got it at like Target, and it was like in one of those flat packs. It is
Same.
not cedar with a live edge, and it is not at all that cool. So that's kind of awesome. Later, I would love to see a picture and of your
Yes.
princess chair.
Well, we could do the
All right,
princess
so yeah, let's see the princess chair.
Oh, that is.
Oh, that looks so comfy. I like it. Mine's just
yeah,
a
it's like
stupid
not
office chair that I
necessarily,
stole.
it's like a kind of- but yeah. And then my plants, but yes.
You know what? That's something else that I've noticed. Everybody's investing in plants so much. You guys can't see mine because I put them in my line of sight, so they're behind the camera. But I have like two pretty good-sized ones that are thriving behind the camera.
Yeah, I have a lot of
So-
plants. I mostly bought them like during the winter when like I couldn't go outside and garden, and I'm like, I need green.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I
Very
was
much.
gifted a few plants, and there's this one particular succulent that I have that like it's just like this little thing, but a singular like stem started growing out of it, and it's just grown bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it like envelops an entire area. And like I would bring it over and show it, but it actually like the vines have entangled into like my blinds, and I'm leaving it like that because I think it's awesome. But
I love that.
It's like it was just this little thing with like this huge like vine that comes out of it, and I'm like, you're so small. How you make so big? Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, I'm starting to collect inside and outside plants. So, but I think that and sourdough starter is like everybody's thing. So let's talk a little bit about interaction with your teams and how that's changed. Nick, do you want to talk about that first?
Sure. I mean, Alex, Connor, and Kent touched on a lot of the stuff when it comes to like us needing more like check-ins. I think for our team, for episode 4 team specifically, I don't know if they mentioned it, but like we every Tuesday and Thursday we do a like 15-minute check-in. Everybody kind of just, it's called our like stand-up, even though we're all sitting, and we basically just sit and like go through what we need to talk about. Our team lead Kirk like gives us any like high-level updates. And then bi-weekly, we have like an hour-long team meeting, which is like hard updates, and then like pulse checks and things like that. And besides that, it's like a bunch more teams communication, a lot of like one-on-one calls, or like you're having a one-on-one call, and then it's like, oh wow, we like need to pull this person into it. So then like you message them, and then you
fallen through the cracks, and we've just had to like. There's just some people that you have to like keep up with.